Hey there, let's bring back the clock 90 years. In the following video, you will see 5 important aspects about the great Roaring 20s. That's right, I just roared. That's how awesome they are. So, World War I had just happened, and veterans are coming back home to have a total of 2.5 limbs, psychological damage, and money. Wait, no, they had no money. There were no steady pensions for war veterans, and no medical services for those that were now left-handed. And most importantly, they had no job. I mean, really, who wants to hire a one-armed bitter war amp? Workers really wanted better wages, and they wanted better working conditions. So they did what everyone else does when they don't get what they want. They threw their hands up and said, I quit. They went on strike and made a little thing called the OBU, which stands for One Big Union. Clever name, guys. Their main attack was a general strike, which pretty much means, hey man, I quit. The thing they wanted most was higher wages, better working conditions, and the ability to collect a bargain. Of course, the business leaders and politicians and pretty much anyone who had money, they were pissed. Guys, stop it! Guys, no, seriously! Guys, stop! I'm gonna tell Mom. And in retaliation, they made the Citizens Committee of 1,000. And they believed that all the union leaders were, get this, they were commies. Yeah, Russians, communists. They're trying to take over the government. In the end, 30,000 people went on strike and Winnipeg was utterly screwed. The police decided to attack with clubs and pistols. Subtle. This event was called Bloody Saturday, and it resulted in all of 1 death and 30 injured. Oh no! Oh. In the end, the Royal Commission established that all the workers' claims were valid, and they celebrated by having a drink. Or did they? So picture yourself, a war hero, and you're kinda crippled. You go home and all your buddies are like, sup dude, you kicked them Germans' ass? Yo man, let's go celebrate by taking down some shots. Now that's all fine and good, but uh-oh, beer's illegal. Thanks, women. Just like pot nowadays. Alcohol was illegal, but it was really easy to get your hands on. And of course, what do when you have something illegal in your possession? You sell it, of course. And to who? The United States of America. Through Al Capone. Yes, he was pretty cool, even though he did die of syphilis later. Nice. The reason for this beer banning was because of man's greatest weakness. Women. The Women's Christian Temperance Union succeeded in banning alcohol from being manufactured and distributed. This was called prohibition. And of course men were all like no women gotta take away my Jack Daniels. Yo doc, can you prescribe me like some alcohol? Score! That's right, they would get prescription alcohol. The smuggling of alcohol went all the way down to 1933. This thing was called rum running, and made people a lot of money. Now you know bars, right? Yeah, the 20s is when bars were invented. It says they weren't called bars, they were called speakeasies. Something about like you had to talk softly about them or something. I don't know, it's a stupid name. Eventually, as you can all tell, alcohol was made legal, making Al Capone's death completely pointless. Yay, syphilis! Let's go back to that interesting topic of women. Fascinating creatures, aren't they? Now, in 1921, there was a woman named Agnes MacPhail. And despite having a name sounding like a bad McDonald's cheeseburger, she was actually the first woman elected to the House of Commons. This is very important, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Now, in the 20s there were these new fascinating inventions to make an iPod look like a Lego brick. These exciting inventions were fridges, and vacuums, washing machines, and irons. That's amazing, right? Now, women also had jobs too. They could become nurses, they could become secretaries, they could become teachers, and in fact, one woman got a very important job as a judge. And this pissed men off real bad. This is because under British law, women were not classified as a person, which is a little weird. So, the judge and 4 of the women got together and made the famous 5, which sounds like the Fantastic Four, just kind of lame. And they all got together and decided, we're gonna make women people. And they did, opposed to being not people, I guess. That was almost 100 years ago. We'll let this one slide. Now, my favorite part of the 20s was that it was pretty much the big party. They had alcohol everywhere, even though it wasn't supposed to be, and they had this little thing called a car. The most popular was the Model T 4, and Canada's 1,600 kilometers of highway extended times 10 by the end of the decade. Driving became a big deal back in the day. And as well as another thing was a big deal was the phone. Nowadays we have tiny phones that you can download a movie and text to your friends on at the same time. No. These phones were old school, man. These phones, you called someone, and there was this girl in a box, and she would take your thing, and she'd plug it into someone else's thing, and then they'd hear you like, what's up, and wrong number, and then they'd take the thing out, plug it in a new one, and it's like, hey, how's it going? Hey, Bill, how's it going? And then talking, it's awesome. They also had this thing called the radio, which is kind of like the TV today. Like, families would get together, and they'd sit around the radio, and they'd watch their favorite shows. They also had these moving pictures, which were movies. Silent movies, to be exact. They were things like Charlie Chaplin, Nosferatu, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, classics, some of my favorites. Unfortunately, these things are usually controlled by the USA, making Canada very much like America. It wasn't for those little rapscallions we like to call natives. Now, women had become people, but you know who didn't? Natives! That's right. Men or women, they were pretty much screwed. They got nothing. Even though they were the first people to come here, they were just completely screwed over in all aspects. See, the Aboriginals, they were fighting World War I, and even though they did help, they came back home and still be treated like crap. So yeah, that made them kind of pissed off. Also, women could now vote, but Aboriginals couldn't. In the end, Aboriginals couldn't even vote until 1960. Now, native children who didn't even have English as their first language weren't allowed to speak their native language in school. The Aboriginals knew they were getting screwed, so they decided to get together and they were like, hey, dude, like, let us do our ceremonies and make it not illegal. Give us back our land and then put titles on this land. And the government was like, nope, see ya. So that's the 1920s in a nutshell. I hope this was insightful, and if not, I don't really care. Bye.